Welcome into the Steelers Talk Mailbag. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. The Pittsburgh Steelers are about to take on the Chicago Bears in the Windy City here in Week 12. And today I'm answering your questions in preparation for that game right here on Steelers Talk. This is my favorite segment of the week because I get to have that two-way conversation with you guys, the Steelers fans, every single week. You guys always bring the heat with these questions. So if you guys want to join our interactive fan community here on Steelers Talk, we got over 100,000 subscribers. We are the only Steelers news program individually run here on YouTube that has that many subscribers. And the reason for that is we try and keep it fun for you guys. We go live twice a week to talk Steelers ball. We go live for every single Steelers game to react to the game together. And, of course, we have these mailbags where you guys have an opportunity to have your voice heard every single week and have your questions be seen by thousands of Steelers fans on every single one of these mailbags. So if you guys want to join us, we do these mailbags. We film them live on Thursday during our weekly live show. So if you guys want to click that subscribe button and join us on Thursdays for our live shows, you could get a question on a future Steelers mailbag. All right, our first one, $5 super chat from Justin Yankuski, who says, is there a chance Joe Burrow plays against the Ratbirds to give us some hope of an L? Well, the final injury report for Cincinnati will come out after I'm recording this, but at this point, at the point of filming this, it looks like he's got a really good chance not only to play against the Ravens on Thanksgiving, but also the Patriots in Week 12. So he's been a full participant in practices this week. It looks like he's getting to a pretty decent spot with his health. And it looks like he's going to play. So hopefully, because Burrow is playing in both of the games against the Ravens this year, that Cincinnati can give us an upset versus the Ratbirds. $2 from Bernard Nixon says, do you think people are being too hard on Aaron Rodgers? The way I would answer this, Bernard, is that it's fine to be truthful about what we're seeing from Aaron Rodgers. Last 3 weeks, ever since he jammed that finger on his throwing hand, he just hasn't been the same, plain and simply. But what's your conclusion? What's your solution for fixing that issue? Is it to put Mason Rudolph in for the rest of the season and pretty much kill any chance you have of winning a Super Bowl? Or do you maybe want to get Rodgers back to 100% health? Because I think a healthy Aaron Rodgers, which is what we got the first 8 weeks of the year, is better than Mason Rudolph, and I think everyone would acknowledge that. But over the last 3 weeks, when he's been playing with that injured finger, he hasn't been as good as Mason Rudolph. And we saw that because Mason came in the second half, and he did play better than Rodgers did, okay? So especially now that Rodgers is dealing with that fractured wrist, I'm guessing at this point, when this video comes out, Rodgers will be confirmed to be playing on Sunday afternoon. And that's for better or for worse, man. I'm not sure if that's the right decision. But I guess we'll see if it is or not come Sunday. Then we got one from Keegan, $2, says, do you think Asante Samuel Jr. will play this year? I think that this is one of those where we're going to have to wait and see here, Keegan, where, the Steelers still seem to like Darius Slay for whatever reason. They like James Pierre, obviously. He's been playing really well. And, when you include Brandon Echols in the discussion and maybe even Jalen Ramsey, like at best, Asante Samuel Jr. on the practice squad is 5th or 6th on the outside cornerback totem pole right now here in Pittsburgh. And it's going to be interesting to see if he can rise up that totem pole as the season goes on. Obviously, the Steelers brought him in for a reason. They like his skill set to some degree. I could certainly see a world where they play him at some point this year, but I could also see a world where they don't, and maybe James Pierre takes over that starting job and plays the rest of the way. That's certainly possible. Also, another thing, too, is that the Steelers are not practicing Asante Samuel Jr. at nickel. They're playing him exclusively in practices on the outside, so they clearly see him as an outside corner. But honestly, the depth at outside corner for the Steelers is actually, pretty decent at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how the season plays out. But for now, it doesn't look like he's close to getting in the starting lineup. So what say you guys? Let me know down there in the comment section. Will Asante Samuel Jr. start as Pittsburgh's number 2 corner at some point this season? Give me a yes or a no down there in the comment section. This will be the pin question on today's show. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time. But letting me know if you think ASJ starts a game for the Steelers this year. Got one from Tyler Sowers. I hope I'm saying that right, Tyler. He says, what kind of comp picks could we have gotten if Pickens would have walked? If we would have kept him and he would have walked, it's probably a 3rd-round pick. So pretty much the trade for Pickens, moves up a 3rd-round pick that you would have gotten in 2027 if Pickens would have walked and gotten a new contract. So You're pretty much getting the same compensation, only a year earlier. And listen, man, in a wide receiver class in 2026 that is really deep and really talented, that might work out in the Steelers' favor. I guess we'll just have to see. But, really the thing about the Pickens trade, Tyler, is that, and the reason why the Steelers did it was because players inside the locker room didn't want to play with him anymore. That's pretty much what it was. According to Mark Caboli, they were big-time players like Cam Hayward, T.J. Watt. Those guys weren't named in the report, but he said key players in the locker room, which tells me they were, probably involved in the decision. They said that they were done playing for him because he was late to meetings, late to practices, late to games. Obviously didn't give consistent effort on tape, run blocking, or even in his route running. And he's a hell of a player, no doubt about that. But I think that it got to a point where they had to part ways, and they did maximize his trade value on the open market. There was no other team in the league that was willing to give up a third-round pick other than the Dallas Cowboys for the same reasons that we just discussed, for the concerns that he has off the field. So, it kind of sucks that he's balling out in Dallas right now, but they only have him for 1 year, and we do have that third-round pick a year earlier. So I guess we'll see if the con artist, who has really nailed his early-round draft picks, by the way, can draft a long-term starter for this team in exchange for George Pickens. Then we got one from It's Caleb 2X, says, why Slay over Pierre? I think maybe it's just to give – honestly, Slay was playing better the 2 weeks before he got injured, okay? That first little portion of the Charger game, he had a pass breakup. He was looking actually pretty good in coverage. And, he didn't play phenomenally in the Colts game. He did give up a couple of catches, but he played better in that game than he did in any game previously. The quarters approach that they played more frequently now, and the off coverage with the too high safety stuff that they're running, it fits Darius Slay's play style more. So maybe they want to give him one more chance to kind of see if he can be worth the $10+ million they paid him this offseason. But I will say this, Caleb, I think it's going to be a short leash. James Pierre's played really, really well. And, the Steelers, I just don't think there's any way where if Slay goes out there and sucks that they're just going to keep playing him, especially with the way Pierre has played. So we'll see what ends up happening this weekend. But I will say I think James Pierre gets in the rotation this week along with Darius Slay. But before we get to the rest of your questions this week, guys, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Harry's. And I don't have to tell you guys that maneuvering the men's razor space nowadays is a complete nightmare. The quality products are always super expensive, and the refills are always ridiculously expensive as well. When you try to save a little bit of money and get one of the cheaper brands, you get stuck with dull razors that you can really only use once, and they irritate your skin and sometimes even cut it. But that's exactly why I switched to Harry's Plus, and I haven't looked back since. Harry's Plus has an advanced pivoting system to reach every corner of your face, refined blade tech for a closer, smoother shave, and a weighted metal handle, which is Harry's heaviest handle ever, by the way, for added control and comfort. But I think the best part about Harry's Plus is how affordable it is. Harry's owns their own world-class blade factory in Germany, which means no outsourcing and no middleman. And because they control the entire process from steel to shelf, they keep costs low and pass the savings on to you, the customer. And if you don't love your shave with Harry's Plus, Harry's is going to make it right with you, no questions asked. Their risk-free trial means there's zero downside to giving them a shot. And guys, I've been using Harry's products for years. I actually brought my Harry's Plus razor today just to show you guys what it looks like and to show you that I actually use and love this product. And I use their entire line of shaving products. I use their shave gel, which smells terrific. Then also their post-shave balm cools your face, and then also it smells great as well. And the best part about Harry's products is that they don't break the bank. I started using Harry's back in college where I kind of wanted more quality out of my shaving products, but I didn't have a lot of money to spend on it, right? But with Harry's, you get the whole shebang. You get the barbershop quality shave with their German engineered blades. And the reason why I like Harry's Plus, guys, is that it gives you that extra premium feel with the weighted metal handle. So it really is the best around, guys. So if you guys want to save a little money and you don't want to sacrifice quality, for a limited time only, our listeners can get the Harry's Plus trial set for only $10 at harrys.com/chat. This set includes the all-new Harry's Plus razor, one refined 5-blade cartridge, a 2-ounce foaming shave gel, and a travel cover to protect your blades on the go. Just head on over to harrys.com/chat to claim this offer, and after your purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Big thank you to Harry's for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. Darian Wilson with a $10 super chat here says, do you think the Steelers will activate MVS and Asante Samuel Jr. to help us win against the Bears? When it comes to ASJ, the reason why I hope they activate him sooner rather than later is because I don't want him to go somewhere else, okay? Now, he has to agree to go somewhere else, but, like, if he's 5th or 6th on the outside cornerback totem pole here in Pittsburgh, and then, like, say his dad's old team, the Eagles, could use a player like Asante Samuel Jr. in their defense right now, comes calling and says, hey, we got a spot on our active roster and in our starting lineup next week if you will sign with us. If I'm Asante, I'm taking that deal. So, if I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't want that to even be a possibility. So if he's good enough to, be a backup this week, maybe contribute a little bit on special teams, I would add him to the active roster, Darian. When it comes to MVS, it's sounding like that, he's probably not going to be elevated. I honestly think Calvin Austin III and Roman Wilson are probably better players than MVS is. And I know, people want to try something new because Calvin and Roman aren't getting the job done right now. But, I would contribute part of Roman and Calvin's lack of production this year to the way the offense is structured. Usually the ball is out super fast, so if they're running an intermediate or deep route, the ball is out before their route actually develops. And then also when the ball does go their way, it's usually on a stop route or an out route, and there's not a lot of opportunities to run with the football after the catch. So they're not getting the ball down the field all that often, which is really what you would use their speed for, and they're not getting a lot of opportunities to run with it after the catch. And, MVS has a lot of speed, but so does Roman and Calvin. And honestly, I think Calvin and Roman run better routes than MVS does. So there's nothing really that MVS would necessarily add to this team outside of his previous experience with Aaron Rodgers, which who knows, maybe that would be the X factor that gets him onto the field. Guess we'll just have to see on Saturday when they make those practice squad elevations, but I'm not getting my hopes up for MVS this week personally. But make sure you guys click that thumbs up icon if you haven't already. If you are a real one, if you watch all of our videos, you guys know that clicking that thumbs up icon is the fastest and easiest way to help us out. It boosts the YouTube algorithm. It tells the YouTube algorithm that you enjoy our content and that they should recommend it to other Steelers fans like yourself. So everybody that likes this video, the more people that like it, the more it will get recommended. The more it gets recommended, the more new people watch. The more new people watch, the more people will subscribe, and so on and so on and so on. So we greatly appreciate all of your guys' support. So click that thumbs up icon if you want to help out the show. Kevin Reed says, what do you think is the plan for Peppers with Ramsey and Duggar at safety? The plan appears to be just to make him a special teams ace, Kevin. I would personally think about using him at safety, but right now Chuck Clark is above Jabril Peppers on the safety depth chart for whatever reason. Even though Peppers played great at safety in his lone game where he actually got significant snaps, and that was against the Patriots back in week 3, he had a 90-plus PFF grade. And it's not like PFF grading's gospel or anything like that, but as someone that watched that film, he played pretty darn well, definitely better than Chuck Clark. So I don't get why he's not higher on the totem pole in Pittsburgh on the defensive side of the ball. But if the choice for me is to put Ramsey at safety and to sit Chuck Clark on the bench, I'm taking that every single day. And Ramsey and Duggar have played really well at safety. So if one of those guys goes down with an injury, I would prefer Peppers over Clark for sure to play safety. But Ramsey and Duggar have done a great job at this point. And I have no problem keeping those guys where they are. Czar Craig coming in says, do you think Roman Wilson has supplanted CA3 as our wide receiver 2, or was last week just a one-week scheme matchup thing? I think he actually has taken over. And I think that's probably driven by Aaron Rodgers, because the week prior, Calvin had one of the worst games he has had as a starting receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Chargers, right? You'll remember he had 2 drops. He had one play where he caught the ball, but he had a foot out of bounds. It wasn't a great day for Calvin. It really wasn't. And he dropped one ball that ended up being an interception. And Roman Wilson, all he's done is lead the team in yards per target, and he's been pretty darn good for this team this year. Now, the following week, when he got all those reps and all those snaps, he only had 2 targets and only 1 catch on the day. So, we'll see how they distribute it moving forward. But I would use Roman and Calvin in pretty similar ways, because they're both undersized guys that run really fast, run pretty good routes, and have pretty good hands. All right, they're pretty similar type of guys, only Roman's a little bit bigger. So hopefully they can figure out something to get these guys going a little bit more, because if they can get one of these guys to be a little bit more of a threat, that means it's going to open some things up for DK Metcalf, which is obviously really good for this Steelers team and this offense. Kevin, again, says, do you think they'll pass to Spencer Anderson again? I mean, listen, man, you listen to the Steelers players talk about Spencer Anderson, and They say Rodgers keeps throwing to him in practice, so I wouldn't count it out, especially if Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback where Spencer Anderson can get another catch at some point this season. So keep your eye out for that because Rodgers really seems to like him. So let me know what you guys think. Down there in the comment section, will Roman Wilson be Pittsburgh's wide receiver 2 from now on? Let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. Wide receiver 2, will Roman Wilson take that spot for the rest of the year? Give me a yes or a no. I kind of hope so. I think that Roman, it's about time for him to step up into that role, and hopefully he can get a little bit more targets moving forward here in Week 12 and beyond, and I'm hoping that he can be the receiver threat that we have been waiting all year for here in Pittsburgh to open things up for DK Metcalf. That'll be it for this week's mailbag. Great questions as always, guys. I'm going to make sure to get you guys some more content here later in the week, so make sure you guys click that subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, guys, here we go, Steelers.